Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's November the 4th. It was a horrible trading day. I'll just be honest with you. There just wasn't not much volume, not much movement. We were stuck in a range from 56 to I'd call it maybe 61 probably. So, you can do the math on that, 5 points or so. And not only that, we had one really good move here, and the rest of it was just choppy. You know, I mean, it took forever for it to go 5 points today. Basically, from 10 o'clock to 1:20 to go 5 points, and you can see it's just mostly chop and gook, and so it just wasn't a good trading day. Not much you can do on a day like this except maybe call it a day. I just gave up and left. So I'm coming back and doing this about 4 o'clock today, so a little later getting out than normal. But, when you sit here and it takes an hour to go across here, I just said the heck with it. And, I called it a day. And um, so, I would characterize this as a not so good trading. It's just not any entries. I mean, really, I saw two entries and one of them was real aggressive that I liked from 7 to 10 o'clock. So I sat there all that time. And you might have thought about taking a long here. Um, but I just, it's too much overlap. I just think it's very risky, and I don't like it. So I didn't, I circled this in lavender so we can talk about it. But let's talk about the 4 or 5 trades that I did see today, and we'll come back tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow will be a better day. So we'll just have to see what happens. But you get days like this, and there's just not much you can do. The worst thing you can do, if you don't learn anything else today, remember this. But the worst thing you can do on a day like this, especially when it's chopping like this, is force a trade. Don't force trades because you will get yourself in trouble really quickly. So don't force a trade on a day like this. Just you got to be patient. If you get kind of fed up, kind of like I did on a day like this, just get up and leave. I got a million other things I could do today, and so I went and did them. And I traded about 3 hours, and that was it for me. Actually, no, I didn't leave till about 10:30, so maybe 3.5 hours. This was the last uh, interesting trade I saw. These are, some I saw after the fact that I'll talk about, but I wasn't here when they set up, so I didn't see them in real time, but we'll talk about them. So well, let's talk about what we did see. The first trade I saw was right around 7 o'clock this morning. And the only reason I like this one is because I considered this a failed second entry short. It's aggressive though because it's right at the high, and it could have easily, ticked up there and turned down and trapped you. But I liked it because it was a trap, and this was a fairly strong move, and we didn't quite have this is the real key. Let me show you this. This is leg one, and so when we go up, if we start higher, we're looking for a possible measured leg, and you can see there's leg two. And we got within, if it's not right on there, it's basically a perfect measured move. Might be off a tick there, but it looks like it's a perfect measured move, really. So that's what made me like this on this failed second entry short. This is a two-legged swing lower, so this is a lower low than this little swing here. So that's how I got that. And there's your first entry short. You're pulling back your second entry short. It fails, and you're looking for a measured leg, so you figure you got a little room here. And if we do break out here, we probably hit some stops. And this is also like a breakout pullback long as well. Uh, and this looks, I mean, even though this looks like a doji, it could have easily closed on its high just like it did. It's just one tick off its high, and so it wouldn't take much to change that to a fairly bullish reversal type bar. So I like that one. It's one that I would say definitely use a limit order and try to get across the top of the bar, maybe a tick back in it. But a lot of times when it ticks higher like that, it takes on off and you miss it. But I know a tick back in it would have gotten filled, maybe two. It's hard to say, I can't remember, but that's what I would recommend, using a limit order there if you decide you want to take that, because it is aggressive and it's dangerous going long at the highs. But you got the 8:30, stuff coming up, and so it's starting to really pick up some steam here. It's usually when the market starts to pick up steam, between 7:30 and 8, right before the regular open. And then they probably trapped everybody up here at the regular open and then took it down. But I just thought it was too risky to go short here because I was seeing a bigger channel. It looks like a spike in channel, but of course it didn't really hold. And you might have even drug this on down here, and you can see it kind of works right there. So it might have even been there, but we went right on through that too. So I still think it was right along there, and we just didn't get the bounce, and it breaks lower, and then it tries for the retest, and then people, realize when it holds here and then catches people again and turns down, that's a trap. It's a nice second entry short. It's right at the, the overnight highs there, and you don't know that it's going to do that. But I like this for that reason. Also kind of had a little trend line working up through here like so. I don't have it on there now. And you can see that fits pretty nicely. And we got a little break there, and we retested that high. So that was another reason I liked that trade too. And that was the trade of the day. And then you should have been thinking maybe a measured leg down here. And you see leg 1. And then you get leg 2, and we don't quite make that. We missed that one by a couple of ticks, but that's because this strong support holds and we start going the other way. So nice short there. Let's go back and talk about this area. But let's talk about this area right here. I had a little interruption there. It was tempting to go short right here, and you could have treated that. You got a new high, first entry long, pull back, second entry long. But there wasn't a good second entry long setup there, so you definitely don't want to be going long. You're looking for a long because I think this was a channel, so I was kind of looking for a long, but there's not a setup until maybe right here, and then I'm not too sure that I like it going long. There was a second entry long here, but by that time you've got all that overlap across there, and you see you would have had to kind of ride that out, but then it takes off, and by the time you get a chance to think about entering again, it's all the way back up here. So there's no real long in there, not a good one, unless you wanted to be risky and take this one right here, which that's a possibility because it is a failed break lower. You are looking for a retest. There's kind of some lows across there. So you might have thought about going long right there. I was tempted to draw that one in green, but notice this 1, 2, 3 overlapping bars. All 3 of them are dojis. It's probably going to snap back and then go higher, but by the time it tries to do that, it's hung up again. So there just wasn't much volume today, and there was no direction really at all. So I just didn't like anything there. You might have even thought about going short if you considered that a failed second entry long. But notice this ended as an inside bar to this one, so that's kind of like an up-down bar, and then when it broke lower, it went higher, and by the time you really might have thought about going short, they end as a doji again, and so then you got to really reconsider, and plus you're still looking for a long if you notice the channel here. So, and it could have been that the channel was right, right in here too, and that made it real dangerous. Or it could have even been right there, and that made it really dangerous going short here. And that's what happened. People weren't sure. I'm guessing that people were looking at that as the low of the range, and then they're thinking, well, maybe it's here. And then, then they're thinking, well, no, maybe it's here. And so there's just too much guessing. Nobody could figure out where, nothing worked. And then it finally does hold. It holds best right here. But you see, even then, it doesn't really hold. And, they're just not, they were just determined that they were going to bring prices back down here and retest the slow again, and that's what happened. And that's where prices were headed, even after they tried to go higher here. But you can see this was a nice long trap, and that's why that shot down like that, because they had people trapped up here. And they all had to exit, and boom, it was off to the races. So I just don't think there was any decent entries right there. And I did like this trap right here. Right here at the highs again, the overnight highs, you had a double top. We had a failed break earlier, but since 8:30, we couldn't get back above there. And so then, you're thinking we're coming to test this at a minimum and maybe this, and that's, and then you start bouncing again. And you got a failed second entry short here after coming off those lows, so I like that for a long. It took a few minutes to work out, and or actually no, I take that back. This is the second entry long, and here was the failed second entry short, so I liked going long there. And it took it a few minutes to work out, but it did work out. And you might have let this shake you out. You know, if you were here and you took this, when you started getting all this overlap, you know, I probably would have taken a tick or two and just exited this thing. You know, you got to be careful with that stuff, because what happens is there's a little range across there, and you can kind of see it. Make it a little bigger so it's a little easier to see. And then there's the, I'd call that the lows of it. Really, you probably get more touches earlier here and there with closes, so I kind of like that. And then we broke out the top and failed. Then you kind of come down here and break out the bottom a couple of times and fail. And you got this little trend line working up as well. So you got a failed second entry short right there. You got a new high, first entry short, coming down, pull back, second entry short. So you really got a little double bottom, and that's a nice reversal bar. So I like that one, and that was probably the second best trade of the day. Right at the lunchtime hour, you know, people ask me that all the time. Should I trade during the lunchtime hour? And, you know, I always read that you shouldn't trade, but if, you know, the price action works anytime. So if you're reading it properly, it doesn't matter when you trade. Some of the best moves will happen during lunchtime. And so, you know, I don't have any hard and fast rules about lunchtime. You know, you just got to be careful. Make sure you're reading it right. Don't get too aggressive. But if you get a good setup, you got to take it. You know, I say take it. This was really just a repeat pattern of this right here, but a little better setup. But it's right here across these highs again. So, and you got 3 dojis in a row, and you see it was kind of a breakout pullback. So if you were going to go long, you really had to do it there. So I'll go ahead and circle that one too. And that was really it. And that's just a breakout pullback long after, you know, 2 tries to go lower. And it's kind of a retest of this breakout area right here, and you see how it retested that. And then but you had this little congestion. It broke out. It pulled back and then went higher. So it's a breakout pullback long. And, you know, it's still aggressive, but, you know, I'll go ahead and circle that. I'll tell you what, let's just make that green, because it is still a little aggressive right there at that high of that range. So you need to, you know, it's not a high probability entry. Breakout pullback longs can give you some great entries, but they're probably the least reliable of our, you know, what I call a good setup with price action. Breakout pullbacks entries are probably the least successful ones, even though they still have a pretty good win rate when you read it right. It's too easy to get it wrong there, especially lately to the short side. So you got to be careful with those. So I'm going to make that one green. But that's really all there was today. I don't, you know, there just wasn't much happening. And even these, you know, you might have just sat there and watched them because of all the overlap and chopping. You definitely don't want to enter in this stuff right here. You got to wait on a trap like this. You just don't want to enter in that stuff. Or there's a little breakout pullback long even right there. Notice that. Notice how we broke out of this range, pulled back, and then went higher. So but there was a little bit of a break of this channel here. Maybe it was down here. Maybe there's not a break. Maybe this was the first break. I mean, these are even hard to read here. So you might, you know, you might have even taken that breakout pullback long, but it's so close to those highs where prices have been getting stalled that you know, and you're so close to the upper trend line, which I definitely like that line right there. I think that's right. So you're so close, it's just risky. So I don't even like that one. You know, I was considering drawing it in green, but I don't like it. If I was here, I don't think I would have taken it. So that's all I saw today, and that's really all there was. It just was a horrible day. There's, you know, just not much going on. And, you know, part of the thing is that we've had a big run up. We're back up near those highs. There was no real high, you know, high importance news today. There were a couple of news items, but they were all low or medium, like factory orders or whatever. But, it's nothing that really moves the indices that much. There just wasn't anything to drive the market today. Um, and that's what I saw. So I'm going to wrap it up. There's just not anything much else to talk about on this chart. If you traded today, hopefully, if you didn't learn anything else today, this is a good day to learn that you got to be patient. And if you're struggling on a day like this, if you have a couple losers, you don't even have really much room to make your money back. So just get up and leave on a day like this, especially when you're right here at 10 o'clock, and then 2 hours later, you hadn't moved but 2 points. Days like that, I mean, a lot of times though you'll get up and leave on a day like that, and then that's when it'll really take off and move, or it might turn the other direction. But you just never know. And if you sit around on a day like this, what'll happen to you is that you'll get antsy. You'll keep seeing it moving higher and higher and higher, and then suddenly you'll decide to get long, and it'll come back. You'll get stopped out, or vice versa. You'll finally decide to get long, and you'll get trapped, and you get a move like that. And then there's no way, and if you don't have your stop in the right place, you could lose. You could quickly lose, and I can see people, giving it a little more room, give it a little more room, and the next thing you know, you've lost 3 or 4 points, and you don't have a good trade enough to even make it back. So, my recommendation is if you get antsy or bored on a day like this, don't play around with it. Just get up and walk away, go take a break, come back later and see if it's doing anything different, or just go do what you enjoy. Go spend some time with your family. Go play golf. I'm a golfer. I like to go play golf when the weather's good, or I use it to spend time with my kids and things that I used to not be able to do when I worked for, when I was a slave to corporate America. So that's what I like about trading, and that's why I do it, because I have that freedom. So, and I took advantage of it today, and it's good to have those 3-day weekends and long breaks. So, don't feel like you got to trade every day. I remember that feeling when I first started, that you feel like, hey, I need to trade every day. I got to make my goal every day. But once you start getting this and consistently making money, you'll realize, you don't need to trade not unless you're really spending your money like wildfire, because you can make good money even with a small goal. You'll be surprised how well you can do at this once you can read the price action. And it doesn't come quickly, but you'll get there. So. But anyway, I've rambled on enough today. This is almost 20 minutes worth, and there's probably not 5 minutes worth to even talk about. So I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.